Hey, how you doing? I hope you're well. I'm Deanna and welcome to my channel. Today I wanted to share with you some of my new favorite authors that I have discovered in 2024. 2024 was one of my best reading years, and for context, I read from 103 authors this year, which is fantastic, and 64 of the authors I read from were new to me authors. So that's a lot of new authors that I've discovered and fallen in love with this year. But I just wanted to share with you some of my new faves that I am now just going to be, endlessly consuming their books. So first things first, we have Kate King, who wrote By Any Other Name, which is her dark academia, witchy, paranormal Romeo and Juliet retelling. This in fact was my first 5-star read of the year, and I have just been approved for a review copy of her newest, like, Beauty and the Beast meets Anastasia retelling, and I'm so excited. Kate King writes paranormal and also fantasy romance. I have been making my way through her Wild Fae series, which I really love, and I think she's got a co-written Omegaverse series, which I'm also very excited about. So love the way that she's constructed these worlds. They feel, even though we've got like Romeo and Juliet retelling and it's a standalone, there is still enough world building in here to make it feel like a wholly unique story. And I love the nods that she's given to the original tale. It's just so clever, and I'm very excited to continue reading Kate King in 2025. We'll stay with paranormal, and next author that I've discovered and completely loved. In fact, at this stage I've devoured everything that she has released up until now, and that is Allegra Hall. She is a New Zealand author who writes paranormal romance, and in particular small town paranormal romance, which is set in New Zealand. I never thought I was a fan of small town romance. It turns out I'm only a fan if you include lots of monsters. I just love this world. She's created a very unique setting, and there's just so many opportunities and options for her to expand with what she's set up. And then the fact that it's set in this like small town in New Zealand, we get a beautiful exploration of New Zealand culture, and in particular the Maori culture, who are the native people of New Zealand, and the way she's just been able to weave in their culture and their language so seamlessly into Ellie's story has just been beautiful. I am completely captivated by this world, as I said, and these characters she created, and I'm very excited to get the next book in this series, which is going to be a dragon shifter. And then as well, she is part of a joint universe with a number of incredible monster romance authors who are writing novellas. It's set in this small town called Hallows Cove, so very excited for that release as well. Then we have Miss E.P. Barley, who is an Australian author. I completely devoured her Vicious Beast series. This series honestly took over my life. It's fused itself into my personality at this point in time. If you like unhinged, why choose, paranormal romance, dark romance, this series is totally for you. And I'm so excited. After the events of what happened in her Psycho Beast, I have so many questions because the book rudely ended on a number of cliffhangers. And then she also has another series as well, which I think is more fantasy romance, The Warrior Midwife. So I will have to dive into that one as well and read as much E.P. Barley as I can before I get to meet her next year. Meet her this year, I should say. It's already 2025. And then we have another Australian author, which just makes me so happy. I love supporting Australian authors, and that is Ileana Lee. She is a author who writes Omegaverse, and again, I think is another author I've completely read her entire back catalogue this year. I just love the diversity that she puts into her romances. Her Bond Dissolution series both include Asian female main characters, and there is a number of different cultures involved. I loved the exploration of her version of Omegaverse. It's still dark and quite heavy, but there is this sweet element when it comes to courting. The way Juno's pack courts her is very sweet, and then with Hazel in The Heat of Us and Olive in A Pack for Winter, which is her shared universe with Emilia Emerson, she has this builder pack dynamic, and I just think she does that excellently. Being able to get a group of characters together and getting them to form a relationship, and it's just so beautiful. Also, her banter between her characters is so much fun, and I am dying to see what she releases next. Last of my paranormal is Ivy Ophelia, who is the author of The Poisoner, and this book is so dark, twisted, deliciously gothic and everything I want from a vampire romance. In fact, her vampires feel wholly unique, which is incredibly difficult to do for a archetype that has been around and very well played through hundreds of thousands of pieces of media. But she's made them kind of serpent-like, and I really enjoy that take. And we have Solias, who I think has wormed his way into my heart, into a top book boyfriend. He does give some slight twisted golden retriever vibes, if a golden retriever could also be like a viper or a cobra, and I kind of love him, and I am excited to see what happens in this one. This one, in terms of like paranormal, supernatural, does kind of fall a bit more on the horror side, which was really amazing to see. And she's just finishing up edits on the second book, which is, there's going to be 3 books in this series, and she's working on a couple of other projects, so fully hooked on her writing style and her world, and I'm just dying to see what's going to happen with Solias and Alana in the next book. Also, the fact that we've got it set in like Victorian London, like, it just adds to that kind of Penny Dreadful gothic vibe, which is just my jam. Speaking of historic settings, the next one is a historical fantasy romance author, and that's Rita, who wrote the Peaches and Honey duet. I completely fell in love with this duology. She has such beautiful lyrical writing, and the way she's been able to introduce us to these characters and give them space and time to develop. Like, if you're looking for a slow burn, this slow burn takes place over 800 years, and it is worth every penny. She also manages to make me cry at multiple points, because she just creates these vividly real characters and puts them through some of these harrowing situations, and you can't help but just cry with them. I am excited to dig into her back catalogue. I know that she's got one called Everlong, which is a ghost romance, I think, and then her work in progress, which will be released sometime this year, is supposed to be The Little Prince meets Stardust, and I love The Little Prince. It's one of my favorite classics. I sob every time I read it, and Stardust is one of my favorite movies, so I am so excited to see what she's going to do with that. Another fantasy romance author I have discovered and loved this year is Tessania Odette, probably to no surprise at you, because this book and this series has completely taken over my heart and soul. If you want a kind of low stakes fantasy romance which has this high society of Bridgerton with fae, this is seriously the perfect series for you. I just love this kind of cozy world that she's created, and am fascinated by Favrourite, which is this fae world she's created. And I know she's got a couple of other series which do take place on the same island, like she's created them in the same world, which is the Entangled with Fae series, and they are fairy tale retellings, and I think one of the couples in that series features in her second book in this series, so very excited to dive into that one. And then I think potentially the Fair Isles trilogy also takes place here, but very much excited. She's got 3 other series that I can absolutely devour next year. It will be perfect for the fantasy romance reading challenges I'm sure I will take part in. Another one that's on the historical fantasy side is Jacqueline Benson, and I just finished her Raiders of the Arcane series, and it is so much fun. Like, if you also grew up being a massive fan of The Mummy, Indiana Jones, Romancing the Stone, this series is for you. We are following 2 people who are thrown into a adventure of a lifetime. It's also set in the 1800s, so we have Allie, who is a suffragette, and she has fought her damnedest to get her education and find her place in the world. She is about to be fired from her very boring job that she fought for, and ends up just coming across an artifact and a map to a lost Mesoamerican civilization. Think El Dorado, and she ends up heading to British Honduras and sparks up a unlikely partnership with an American surveyor named Adam as they try and beat the bad guys to the lost city and the magical relic they're trying to find. And it is just such a riot. Book 2 takes place in Egypt, and book 3 is going to see us in India, and I cannot wait. And also she has another series which has been described as like set around World War I meets the X-Men, and that just sounds like something I need in my life. It is the charismatics. And yeah, I am very much excited to read that one and see what that one's about. The way she's able to create this very believable historical setting while adding these magical elements in is just so much fun. And next is an author that has been on my radar for ages, and I knew that they were going to be my jam, but for whatever reason I just kept putting off, and that is Harley LaRue. They write my perfect books. We have the All Souls series, which is a kind of demon monster romance, and the supernatural does definitely fall on the folk horror, and I completely love it. And I've still got one more book in that series, but I'm very excited to dive into that one. And then we have The Losers Duet, which is honestly my perfect why choose romance. It's a little bit dark, it's a whole lot of poly, and these characters are completely messy, and I just loved watching them figure out who they are and then figuring out their dynamic and finding a very safe and supportive place to be who they are and just express all the love they feel. Both her series are just an absolute exploration and celebration of LGBTQIA plus people and relationship dynamics, and I am very excited to see what she releases next, because I think once I finish A Soul for a Witch, I'm out of Harley LaRue books to read, but highly recommend if any of that sounds up your alley. And speaking of why choose, a debut author who I discovered right at the end of the year and I am dying to read more from is Alexis Grace. She writes romantic suspense, and if you're a Criminal Minds girly like I am, this is seriously the book for you. We have all the Criminal Minds vibes. We are hunting down a serial killer with a specialist task force of the FBI and the daughter of said serial killer. And the way she's been able to balance the twists and the romantic suspense, like I gushed and raved about this book and all the twists to my partner for like 3 hours after I finished it. And that is just as strong as this Why Choose romance that's developing between Freya and the 4 FBI agents. And Secrets of Mine is coming out soonish, and I cannot wait to figure out what happens with them and if they're going to catch the Crosscut killer. And then last but not least, I have C.L. Manigan, who is another Australian author, and she writes rockstar romances. Unfortunately, I only got to one of her books this year, which is a shame on me because I completely devoured it. If you know me, you know that if it's a rockstar romance, there has to be music in it, and both our main characters are musicians, and we have touring, there are recording sessions, and it has it all in there with a dark stalker scary time in here. And I know that she's recently unpublished this particular edition, but I still personally loved it, and I'm so excited to dive into the rest of the Up and Light series. I do really want to read them before I see her at Babe this year. So if you're in the mood for a dark rockstar romance, look no further than C.L. Manigan. So there you go. There are 11 of my new favorite authors who I have discovered in 2024. All of these I will be eagerly awaiting their new releases and devouring their back catalogue. So comment down below and let me know which authors you've discovered and fallen in love with in 2024, or you can leave me a flower emoji for your choice, as Elle is a landscape designer. If you'd like to see more content from me, please like and subscribe. Linked in the description box below will be all these books, along with reviews if I have any of them, and links to my social media channel if you'd like to talk to me or follow me on any other corner of the internet. Anyway, that's all from me today, guys. I hope you're doing all kinds of well, and I will speak to you soon. See ya!